celebrating 25 years of media excellence in the defense of Ghana's freedom and justice. Tonight on Joy News Prime, coronavirus outbreak to cost the Ghanaian economy 9.5 billion Ghana cedis in the 2020 fiscal year. Finance Minister announces some money to cushion the country will come from the Heritage Fund.
Immediately release an amount of 1 billion Ghana cedis upon approval by Parliament. The ministry is proposing to use the equivalent of US 290 million from the Stabilization Fund for this.
But minority wants government's hands out of the Heritage Fund.
As for the Heritage Fund, any attempt to eat into the Heritage Fund, we shall resist it vehemently and we shall resist it.
Well, the majority, however, insists the Heritage Fund must be spent.
I recall the General Secretary of the NDC saying in 2012 that we have to chop the Heritage Funds, his words. So, Speaker, if there is any such time where we have to dip our hands into the Heritage Fund, it is now.
Also in this bulletin, as day one of lockdown, partial lockdown kicks in, state security officers stop cargo drivers smuggling over 40 headquarters to the north. And in business,
banks and mobile money joints witness high patronage as partial lockdown begins in parts of the country.
The check. You can't count check over such transactions. So I'll even plead if banks can bring businesses to the doorsteps of the essential companies which have been selected, that will go to them instead of we walking to the banks to transact business.
And later on in the bulletin, where is the water needed in this time of coronavirus? I'm Israel Lion, and Joy News Prime is now free to air on your digital TV. Stay tuned in.
They say we should wash their hands with flowing water. Always we should wash their hands with soap. And we drink water regularly. But here we don't have enough water.
All of these plus many more coming up shortly on Joy News Prime. Remember, we're also on GoTV channel 144 and DSTV channel 421. Please stay tuned in. Many thanks for choosing us. In our very first story, Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta has disclosed to Parliament the coronavirus spread will cost the Ghanaian economy 9.5 billion Ghana cedis in the 2020 fiscal year. The virus will produce projected GDP growth from 6.8% to about 1.5%. He's been addressing Parliament on how the virus will negatively impact the Ghanaian economy.
Mr. Speaker, the reason why every single person in this country must exercise the highest level of self-discipline is evidently clear in the economic numbers. The greater the level of self-discipline and civic responsibility we maintain in observing the enhanced protocols in hygiene and social distancing, the greater chances we have in avoiding mass job losses and its concomitant hardships. Already, Mr. Speaker, we are experiencing slowdown in economic activities in the various sectors of the economy as a result of the pandemic. This will altogether slow down economic growth considerably. Even though events on the pandemic are still unfolding, a preliminary analysis of the impact of the coronavirus menace on the real sector shows that the 2020 projected real GDP growth rate could decline, Mr. Speaker, from 6.8% to 2.6%. with infection and cases, and 1.5% with a partial lockdown. Mr. Speaker, the projected growth will further worsen in the event of a full lockdown.
Ken Ofori-Atta says that 1 billion Ghana cedis COVID-19 alleviation program, which will be laid before Parliament for approval tomorrow, and $100 million inflows into the economy from international agencies and Stabilization Fund will help cushion the economy. He says some of the money will also come from the Heritage Fund.
Mr. Speaker, that is why, to mitigate the impact of the coronavirus on business and households and ensure that economic activities are sustained while minimizing job losses. The President on Friday, March 27, 2020, announced the establishment of the Coronavirus Alleviation Program, the CAP. The Ministry of Finance will immediately release an amount of 1 billion Ghana cedis upon approval by Parliament. The Ministry is proposing to use the equivalent of US $290 million from the Stabilization Fund for this. The CAP will focus on areas that will provide maximum results in alleviating the impact of the coronavirus pandemic, with a focus on protecting against job losses, protecting livelihoods, supporting small businesses, and ensuring the program is efficiently and sustainably implemented. The CAP will seek additional funding for the following purposes: promotion of selected industries to shore up production for export and import substitution, to support SMEs and create jobs, to partner with pension funds and insurance funds, to create guarantees and first loss instruments to promote business. Mr. Speaker, my duty as Finance Minister is to begin speedily and responsibly the process of disbursing the funds immediately the amount is approved by this House. Targeted businesses and households would include those in the health sector, education sector, hospitality industry, SMEs, and households hit hard by the coronavirus. The specific details of the CAP and the instruments to allocate the resources will be fashioned out shortly.
Parliament is debating the Finance Minister's address. The MP for Yape Kusegu constituency, John Jinapor, says President Akufo-Addo's commitment to raising money to deal with COVID-19 should begin with him cutting down on the number of ministers. He says Ghanaians cannot be tightening their belt with more than 100 ministers. He added the minority will resist attempts to dig into the Heritage Fund.
In this difficult moment, in this hard moment, when ordinary Ghanaians are sacrificing, like the minister said, when hotels, businesses are laying off workers in order to ensure that they cover their costs, this is the time for His Excellency President Akufo-Addo to reduce the size of the bloated ministers that we have in this country. Mr. Speaker, His Excellency President Akufo-Addo must demonstrate leadership. He must demonstrate commitment. He must send a signal to the people of Ghana that he is indeed in charge and he is prepared to sacrifice. Mr. Speaker, we cannot ask the ordinary Ghanaian to tighten their belts when we do not even have belt holes in our belts, Mr. Speaker. That is what is happening today. You cannot have a ministry that has 4 ministers in a particular ministry. Mr. Speaker, you cannot have a system with all those bloated presidential staffers feeding on the perks of government. Mr. Speaker, the minister says that he wants to review the Petroleum Revenue Management Act and eat into the Heritage Fund. Mr. Speaker, I, as a member of Parliament for the Yape Kusegu constituency, support any decision to cut the Stabilization Fund. This side of the House would help the minister, would help government to go through this challenge. But Mr. Speaker, as for the Heritage Fund, any attempt to eat into the Heritage Fund, we shall resist it vehemently and we shall resist it appropriately.
But MP for New Jobbing South, Mark Asibe-Yeboah, says it will be absurd for anyone to kick against an accord chopping the Heritage Fund.
Mr. Speaker, these are trying moments. Mr. Speaker, the coronavirus pandemic is both a health and an economic crisis. This virus has placed enormous strain on the global economy. Mr. Speaker, this is about social distancing. It means that there is restriction on the flow of goods and services. There is restriction on the movement of persons. It slows down economies. Mr. Speaker, the world is going to experience a global recession this year. No country is left out. Mr. Speaker, a recession will be 2 quarters of negative growth. And so you will hear the minister project that our economy could grow at 2.8% or even 1.6%. It could even be negative. So these are not times for anybody to be partisan. These are serious times, and so let's be guided. Mr. Speaker, what is even more worrying is that a recovery will be slow and long. It could take 2 years for our economy to recover. Mr. Speaker, to return to pre-coronavirus growth levels means we have to make hard choices. We have to make hard choices. Mr. Speaker, I recall the General Secretary of the NDC saying in 2012 that we have to chop the heritage funds, his words. Mr. Speaker, if there is any such time where we have to dip our hands into the heritage fund, it is now. Mr. Speaker, it would be absurd for Ghanaians to die whilst we hold 591 million in the heritage fund. Mr. Speaker, I don't want to be a member of parliament at the time where the House decided not to touch the heritage fund and Ghanaians died. This is the time for us to dip our hands into the heritage fund. Mr. Speaker, it makes a lot of sense to lower the cap on the Ghana Stabilization Fund. Minister, I applaud your efforts. We are going to rake in about $280 million by lowering the cap on the Stabilization Fund. Let us support government in these trying moments.
Minority Leader Haruna Iddrisu argues the minister should rather have just revised his 2020 budget instead of a mere statement.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to respond to the statement made by the Minister for Finance and to thank him for the assurances to the Ghanaian people, including Ghanaian businesses and individuals who are coming under the ferocity of the unknown of the coronavirus. But Mr. Speaker, in doing so, first is to raise a procedural issue. You said the Minister for Finance was here to make a statement. Mr. Speaker, in the content of his delivery are major decisions we have to take as a parliament. I would think that the minister could have exercised the option of Section 28 of the Petroleum Revenue Management Act and come to revise his budget, or better still, the provisions of Article 1798 of the 1992 Constitution. But if he makes a statement, it puts us in a difficulty. What are we to do with a statement? Because Parliament cannot take a decision merely on a statement submitted by the Minister for Finance.
And did you know that you could land in jail for 14 years for disobeying government social distancing directives? For this reason, members of the public are being urged to respect the restrictions imposed by the president. The imposition of the Restriction Act slaps 1,000 to 5,000 penalty units fine on those who breach the law, which translates into a 12,000 to 60,000 cedis fine. Ranking member on Parliament's Constitution and Legal Affairs Committee, Inusaf Hussaini, explains in default, you could spend up to 14 years in jail. He, however, thinks the sentencing regime is unreasonable because the crime here isn't a felony.
Initially, most of the committee members were of the view that because it's a virus which we don't simply understand, at that time that we were considering the bill, the president had issued some executive measures pursuant to his executive authority under Article 58, and which was largely being complied with. So members of the committee were of the view that the sentencing regime should be minimal because people were already voluntarily complying. But on the floor of the House, a new idea came up. I mean, people thought that we should impose stricter punishment. And so on the floor of the House, the Parliament settled for 1,000 minimum, 1,000 units minimum, and 5,000 maximum. Now, a penalty unit is 12 cedis. So 1,000 means 12,000 Ghana cedis. So if a person breaches the executive instrument issued just recently, that person minimum is going to pay 12,000 Ghana cedis. Maximum is going to pay 60,000 Ghana cedis.
And the minority in Parliament has described as a necessary government's establishment of the COVID-19 National Trust Fund. President Akufo-Addo outdoored a committee to oversee the fund, which will raise money to support Ghanaians impacted negatively by the virus. But ranking member on Parliament's Defence and Interior Committee, James Agalga, says Parliament passed the NADMO Act, which established a disaster fund that has not been operationalized since 2016. He says government should rather use the NADMO Disaster Fund for this purpose and not a new body. He says the minority will kick against the establishment if it comes to Parliament.
There is something very important. An announcement was made by His Excellency the President to the effect that he has set up a fund, the COVID-19 fund, to deal with the COVID-19 pandemic. Well, a board was set up and to manage the fund, which board is chaired by the former Chief Justice, Justice Sophia Ekufo. I know the President's intentions are good and he should be applauded for his effort. But once again, when I pondered over the issue critically, I felt that this exercise of setting up a fund, a COVID-19 fund, was unnecessary in the first place. Why do I say so? You are all aware I had occasion to file a question directed at the Minister for the Interior to appear before this House and apprise the House of the status of the disaster fund set up under the NADMO Act 2016. When the Minister appeared, I think we are all witnesses to what transpired. I mean, he fumbled badly because the fund set up under the National Disaster Management Act 2016 has not been operationalized. That particular fund is meant for situations like this, emergency situations like this. So rather than set up a new fund which needs to be taken through the legislative process, a law would have to be enacted by Parliament to give legal effect to the COVID-19 fund. I am of the view that the National Disaster Management Fund that was set up in 2016 ought to be operationalized. And so, in short, the point I'm simply trying to make is that the setting up of a COVID-19 fund is duplicitous and thereby, I mean, unnecessary. Let us operationalize what is already in existence for this particular, emergency situation.
And later in this bulletin, where is the water needed in this time of coronavirus?
Flowing water. Always we should wash your hands with soap. And we drink water regularly. But here we don't have enough water.
There is more when we return from this break, and also when Israel Lai joins us from home. Welcome back now to the rest of our stories, and Israel Lai joins us from home. Hi, Israel. How does it feel reading the news from home, thanks to COVID-19?
Yeah. Yes, and this is some history that it's happening here right now. But straight on to the stories. A 2-week partial lockdown of Greater Accra and Greater Kumasi came into force as a Monday, 1 a.m. Monday, and as part of measures by government to contain the spread of COVID-19. Head of our security desk, Gifty Ando Apia, was embedded with police officers implementing their directive and reports some people who got to the Yemensa toll booth after 1 a.m. were turned back, while others spotted traveling within the city were left off with a warning.
Let's give 99, 99, 99. Adwana, let's go!
It all started here, the police headquarters. Uniformed men prepared to head out to enforce restrictions on movements starting today. The officers would receive stern warnings and a rather repetitive reminder of the exemptions and what this is all about.
You need to observe identification properly. The coronavirus is not a joke. So please, it's a serious matter. Don't go and see someone and say it's my friend. If he's not supposed to pass through, the person is not passing through. That's all. If he's exempted, he's exempted. I hope that is clear. So there is no joke. And you do the job as a policeman by rules and regulations. If you are in doubt, call the JOC.
One thing was lost though.
PPEs will be delivered to your duty points. We'll get a team that will come to your point and deliver PPEs to you.
Nearly 20 minutes to 1 a.m., some of the personal protective equipment arrive. Off the team goes. Some were scared. They ran away when they heard the police. Others said they need to work to make money. But this is the first day of Ghana's partial lockdown, so it's more of a gentle plea for people to get indoors. Away from Nima, we make our way through Adenta to Ayimensa. The first roadblock so far. And now, what looks like a recalcitrant driver showed up. They were warned and let go. At the Ayimensa toll booth, the story was a lot different. The stern police officers here spoke very few words and insisted no one will cross this line.
If you know, we are working. And so now that we are done, we need to go back to our families, and we can't. I'm not faulting the authorities because it is indeed the law. But I also think that in certain cases like ours, we should be allowed to proceed.
They were only allowed to make a U-turn, and all of them sent back from where they came. But even that was a huge relief to these men who would have been stuck here at the toll booth. It was obvious to the police service that how they start today will go a long way to determine their success in the next 2 weeks. Gifty Andopia, Joy News, Accra.
Now, two cargo trucks, each carrying over 40 passengers, including children bound for Wale Wale in the northeast region from Accra, have been forced to return. They were escaping the partial lockdown imposed by the president to curb the spread of the coronavirus. The drivers of the two trucks had covered their human cargo to outwit security officers on the highway until they were intercepted at Jijisu in the Ashanti region. Nana Asensu-Mensah has more in this report.
The people, mostly headquarters and their children, say they are being forced by the lockdown to return to the north because they have no shelter to stay indoors in Accra. One of them, who identifies herself as Adiza, they would be better off in Wale Wale than Accra during the restriction period.
She said, we are leaving Accra for the north because of the spread of the virus. We don't have any place to sleep, so we are stranded at Accra.
Station. Traffic lights.
With the lockdown, we joined this cargo car because there was no bus at the station. The lockdown has affected us. We don't even have food stocks to feed our families. If we stay in Accra, we are going to Wale Wale, else we will die of hunger in Accra.
The drivers say they accepted to transport the women and girls on humanitarian grounds because they had been stranded at the bus terminal for days.
Bolaga. My name is Atia Bolaga from Bolaga. So I just did Accra, and they called me that our village people did there. They don't get car, so they organized to come and take them. I said no, but that's why the car is not passenger car, so I can't pick them. They said we are begging me because that place they don't have sleeping place. They are suffering. Some are pregnant, some are born twins, some are children. So I should help them. So I said okay.
Ejiso Municipal Chief Executive Beatrice Sawadeche says she surprised the two trucks managed to outwit security at all checkpoints until they were found out at Ejiso. She wants military presence at all police checkpoints.
I just don't understand. There are about 10 policemen over there. So how will you be there and these cars will be crossing? And you are supposed to know better. If the cars are coming, you should stop them for them to go back to Accra, wherever they are coming from. But they've been able to cross. They've been able to cross to Ejiso. So it was here that I came to see the first one, which was covered with tapoli. Human beings were inside, and the car was covered with tapoli. So I told the policeman to put the driver into cells for me to go to Kubasi barrier to check how they were managed to cross the barrier to Ejiso. Yes.
What is going to happen to them? Are you going to hold them and quarantine them before you leave them?
Where are we going to put all these people to quarantine them? So either they take them back to Accra, where they are bringing them. Because Ejiso here, we don't have any place to place them.
As these women and girls are returned to Accra, there are concerns they could be at risk of infection, having crammed themselves into the trucks without observing social distancing. Authorities will have to find appropriate ways to address their concerns in the fight against COVID-19. Nana Asensumensa, reporting for Joy News.
Now, some drivers flying between Kasoa and Accra are unhappy with the way social distancing is being enforced in commercial buses. According to them, the police appears to be calling for more than what the drivers and the GPRTU agreed. Some of them have been speaking with my colleague PSA Nanea Safo, who has also been monitoring the partial lockdown in parts of Greater Accra.
How are you?
Sounds from the Kasoa toll booth as stationed police personnel check for proper sitting arrangement in commercial buses in compliance with the social distancing protocols by officials. Some passengers are asked to sit properly. Others, who are considered as overload for the sake of the times, are asked to alight. The drivers are not excited about the move.
mi imagine say yes small cars na omu fa tutu na ye 44 na yibako na ka 33 ba say na ye wonu say e was say nko park car no na ye free say by this time they want to fa tutu ye nya juma so be say anya ka wona 6 e dey am command
bi fi obo asena na meba ba be duru onu o ma yes mo bi an fenipa bibi empty saa na me di free ase obo ase saa na me dey duru ye di traffic saa ye dodge fa police ye san ye chi ye fa ha almost ye ntan ye chi entina me nim dey ekoso lockdown mati ba enim say almost shem la say cars no ye loadu 33 wa o loadu 44 no fa 33 wa o fa 33 to fa 22 na emu na emu ye dey emu ye free ba mi be say mi ka obi anim.
A vehicle approaches filled to the brim with goods and people. The officers are not only furious with the major breach of lockdown laws, but the fact that the passengers and the driver seem to have no idea of a lockdown. But the drivers are not the only people breaking the rules. Although Joy News observed from parts of Tudu, Agbogbloshie and Kantamanto that many citizens had complied with the directives, there were others who were also out on the streets, including a cobbler.
He has a polish here, and he does what we call in local terms shoe shine, cobbler duties. I asked him why he's operating here as at this time, given that this might be described as many as a non-essential service. He says, well, he doesn't mind. He continues his job. Even if we, the team, Joy News, need a service, he can provide for us instantly.
I'm Ofosu Free, and I'm not a worker. I'm just roaming about. I'm a prisoner. I came from Nsawam prison last week. So as I came, I don't have money to go back to my hometown.
This is all just the beginning, as 13 days remain in the nationwide lockdown. PSA Nana Yaosafo, Joy News.
And back to you, Aisha, in the studio at Fanofa.
Well, we'll take a break on Joy News Prime. We're back with business. Time now for business. Sandra Apeno is here with the very latest from the business school.
Exactly, and it's a COVID world.
It's so all about the lockdown.
Exactly, and we'll be telling you what the banks and mobile money joints experienced today, day one of the lockdown in Accra and Kumasi.
Take it away.
Celebrating 25 years of joy, I'm Sandra Esinam and I'm here for business. Customers today thronged some banking halls and mobile money joints to withdraw cash as the lockdown on Accra and Kumasi takes effect. My colleague Charles Aite has been monitoring the situation and has come through with this report.
It's day one of the lockdown here at the Central Business District of Accra. We're going to be giving you a 360 view of what is happening currently here. If you visit this place on a normal Monday morning, you should find this place very busy. Human traffic and even vehicular traffic everywhere. But this is how the entire place is. You could see from my very left, if the camera could pan, how empty these streets are. Business is on lockdown. If you come down to this is one of the main sites where we have most of the public transportation as well that goes around at Opera Square in Accra. You could see most of these commercial vehicles not there. Most of the drivers have gone home. They're also saying that they're not getting the people to transact businesses with. That's how stuck and reality the situation is here at the Central Business District of Accra. For how long have you been here to get some cash withdrawn?
Probably I've been here for the past 1 hour.
The past 1 hour? What's going on here?
People are being responsive, organizations are being responsive to what the directive the government have given as to, in a way, to combat the disease which is currently going on. So in response to that, this is what people are doing, and I also happen to be one of the people who have been obedient to what the government have said to.
Okay. Did you hear about the need that you could also transact businesses online? You could use mobile money. You don't necessarily have to come to the traditional banking halls to withdraw some money.
Yeah, I've heard something about that. Yeah, but if you have been issued a check, you can't count check over such transactions. So I'll even plead if banks can bring businesses to the doorsteps of the essential companies which have been selected, that will go to them instead of we walking to the banks to transact business with them.
Here at the Kwame Nkrumah Circle, this place used to be a very busy area. You can see for yourself, all the shops have been closed down. Traders nowhere to be found. As well, we visited some fuel stations where, although most of the attendants were at posts, drivers were not around to just buy for themselves some petrol for their various vehicles. I'm Charles Aite for Joy Business.
All right, so when the coronavirus crisis began in Ghana, there were reports of hiking prices of some food items and essential goods. Since then, the situation seems to have escalated across the country. Even more compounding is the announcement of a partial lockdown in Accra and Kumasi. So how bad is the situation? Well, some customers took to social media to express their frustration. Take a look at this.
artificial hikes in prices of some essential commodities is just disturbing. It is sad, it is barbaric, and it is worrying. Look at this tube of yam. On a normal day, this tube of yam will sell at 5 Ghana cedis. This is Puna. Go to Bantamajum and it is 20 Ghana cedis. You diboni way, you ria yasabo abani tiriso. Yamibi cheni pakao.
Interesting, but of course we can independently verify these claims on social media. Gary that was selling for 7 cedis was now going for 60 cedis, and then also that. So joining me by Skype for more is the Center Coordinator of CATS International Policy Advocacy Think Tank, Apiakusi Adumako. For more, thanks so much for your time. So the last time we had this conversation about price gouging, the issue you brought up has to do with lack of consumer protection law in Ghana. In the absence of that law, how do we ensure that the consumer is well protected?
Thank you very much, Sandra, and your happy viewers. I think it's a very difficult thing around this time because it is more of a free market, and from economic demand and supply. Whenever business get to know that their goods are on high demand, the tendency for them to increase the prices is too high. And lastly, most things are happening in the informal sector. You can't go to a filling station where when a liter of fuel is, let's say, 5 cedis, you cannot sell 20 cedis, simply because it is a formal sector whereby you can easily make a complaint and then the regulator can deal with whoever is doing that. So the informal nature of our market makes it difficult for any action to be done. Until we step up to formalize our informal sector, we will not be able to make any headway on this issue.
So obviously the consumer is left with no option. But at the press conference today, the Agri Minister indicated that the economy is so immune to happenings in the world right now, with regards to food and food security. And he gave credit to the Planting for Food and Jobs initiative. Do you agree with him? And he even mentioned that because of that, we do not need to have a price control mechanism or regime.
Yes, I agree with the minister. We don't need a price control mechanism. But whatever food that we need now has already been produced. Now the key issue is the logistics, bringing the food from the farming communities into the city centers is the major problem. Until we are able to step up logistics, and at this time, I don't think we can leave carton of goods, food stuff from the villages into the hands of the private sector. Perhaps government can come in to support businesses who have to go and cut goods from the rural centers to the city, so that we can get constant supply of food. Once there's a constant supply of food, that excess demand will go up and the price will plateau at an equilibrium where both the supplier and the consumer will be very happy about the price that we quoted.
All right, so all this said, right now we have a situation at hand, and a lot of traders are taking advantage of the system. At what point can we really say, yes, we need a price control regime?
I wasn't around the price control regime started in the 70s, but we've read it through the literature. I don't think if we want to go into price control, we will end up creating more problem than what we want to stop. So what we can do is that to ensure that the supply chain is not distorted. The supply chain route is to allow all these foodstuffs and other goods that we need to come into the market. Once those things are done well, we will never have to go to price control.
All right, Mr. Piakusi Adumaku, I'm afraid we have to leave it here. So we've been talking about price gouging. Look, guys, the situation is hard, but do not take advantage of the system. Ghana is a Christian nation, and we love God. So search within your heart and make sure you don't take advantage of the system. My name is Sandra Isenamapenu, and that's how we end the first part of business. I'm back after 8 p.m. with more.
Welcome back to Joy News Prime Time now for Showbiz, and I'm sure by now you may have heard Kobe Rana's We Will Survive song. It's a song that talks about how we should take care of ourselves and avoid being fearful and panicking during the times of COVID-19. Take a listen.
Everybody living in fear, hoping that this virus disappears. All we have to do is stay safe. Before Preste, Babago come say. It's time to love one another. It's time for the world to come together. No black, no white, no yellow, because nobody is promised tomorrow. We will survive together, you and I. We will survive coronavirus. Everybody live in isolation, trying very hard to find solutions. We pray for the souls we lost and the heroes who fought. Heroes, time to love one another.
So that's how Kobe Rana wants to inspire us to stay safe and also avoid getting being fearful and also panicking around this time. Let's get on to Skype and speak with Kobe. Kobe, hello, how are you? Hello, Kobe, if you can hear me. It's day one of the lockdown. So how are you coping? What have you been doing?
Thank you for having me. For some of us, lockdown is normal. It's our lives. We've been locked down every day. If we are not shooting, if we are not on set, we are locked down. If we are not editing, we are locked down. If we are not recording this. So it's like tradition that continues. And I will urge everybody to do the same.
Interesting. I'm hoping that everybody else will learn from you and enjoy, because people say it's boring and what have you. But I know you were inspired by this deadly pandemic, and of course you decided to do this to inspire us. But what exactly went into this music? Okay, it looks like we're losing Kobe Rana on Skype. We'll try and get him back. Okay, Kobe Rana is back. Kobe, I'm talking about your music now and the fact that you wanted to use this global pandemic to inspire all of us to stay safe. What went into this? What really motivated you to do this?
Okay, the motivation. Okay, thanks very much. I have seen a lot. We have seen a lot worldwide. I'm a social media person. I'm a YouTube person. I'm always learning online. I'm always watching, listening, current affairs. So I see the way people are suffering because of this virus, the coronavirus disease 19, COVID-19. It makes me want to do something. The essence of our jobs as an to inform, educate, and entertain. So I felt that this is a time that to use our creativity to inform the people on safety in this pandemic and also to keep calm.
Certainly, Kobe Rana, you did a very good job there, and a lot of people are inspired by your music. Thank you so much for talking to us, and that's how we wrap up Showbiz tonight. Welcome back to Joy News Prime. Now to the rest of our stories. And some youth of Saboba have taken the law into their own hands by mounting roadblocks on the major roads leading to their community to stop the mass movement of people from Accra and Kumasi. They're also preventing motorcycle riders from other districts from entering the district capital. The youth insist they are sensitizing the community on the deadly COVID-19. Kunji Samuel, one of the leaders of the group, explained why they embarked on that exercise.
We are blocking the road because we have information that most of our people who live in Accra and Kumasi are running away from these areas because of the COVID-19 disease in Accra and Kumasi and trying to come back to Saboba. And we feel that if we allow these people to come into Saboba, they are going to create a problem for us because you never know who has the disease and who doesn't have it. And so that is the reason why we feel that as a youth, we should block these areas and prevent people from entering Saboba.
So can you tell us which caliber of people are you blocking? Are you preventing people from moving within Saboba, or which caliber? Can you explain to us your reasons or the caliber of people that you are blocking?
Well, we are not blocking everybody. We are blocking people who are coming from outside the Saboba district, because we assume that people from within the Saboba district haven't traveled outside, and so they might not be carriers. But people from outside Saboba, because we have information that they had recorded a case in Yendi and recorded a case in Tamale, and so we are just blocking people from outside the Saboba district from coming in. That is what we are blocking, not everybody. And we allow people to move around Saboba town. We are not blocking anybody from moving.
We understand today is Saboba market. So what is the situation like? People who are coming to spend market, people, for instance, from Yendi, Zabzugu and beyond, I mean, are they going to be prevented from going into, to spend their market, or what is the situation?
Yes, exactly so, unfortunately. But we are preventing them from coming to spend the market, at least for today and maybe the subsequent markets, until we are all sure that the situation has died down, and then we can now go about our normal duties. These are extraordinary times, and so we are also feeling that we need to take some extraordinary measures in order to curb the spread of this disease, because it is much more horizontal in spreading. And so that is what we are doing. So we have already sent messages to our people in Yendi and other places not to come to market today, because they will not be allowed to enter Saboba. That is what we do.
Can you also explain to us, in taking this decision or this step, have you informed the authorities? The DCs are aware? Is the security agencies aware about this exercise that you are carrying this morning?
We are a community of people. All those authorities you have mentioned are part of the community. All of us are powerless in one way or the other. We are unable to carry out what we are supposed to carry out to prevent this disease from entering Saboba. And so we are taking this decision as a people, collectively. And so it is neither here nor there. It is the youth that have organized and mobilized themselves to come here and to prevent people from entering, because we suspect that some people might import these things to our district. And you know that our health system is deficient. We will not be able to take care of these serious issues. And so that is what we are doing. It's a border town, and so we feel that it is important to prevent people from unnecessarily coming into Saboba, because we have our compatriots in Togo and other areas around who would want to come into Saboba. And so that is why we are taking this unfortunate measure to prevent this.
Do you explain to people not to enter into the district?
Sincerely, we are not using force. It's a very peaceful thing. We are just appealing to the conscience of people not to enter. And so, as you can see, we are not having any difficulty with the people. We explain to them the reasons for which we are doing that. It is for the good of they and us. And so we are not using any force. It is an appeal. It is peaceful, and there's nothing like force in this.
Now, residents of Kukwehi in the Sanyarugu district of the northern region say an outbreak of COVID-19 in the area would spell doom for them, as they do not have water to maintain personal hygiene. They say the taps in the area have been shut since January, compelling them to use unclean water from the Banka Dam. My colleague Jojo Kobna visited the community, and here's his report.
Thirsty times here in Koche, a town in the San Nerigo district of the northern region. High temperature days mean people have to drink a lot of water. In a time of coronavirus, consuming more water and washing hands often are healthy things to do. Unfortunately, according to residents, the taps have been dry for the past 3 months.
They can give us once a month, but now, after 3 months now, we didn't get water. We hear the coronavirus, and we are very fear about it. They say we should wash their hands with flowing water. Always we should wash their hands with soap, and we drink water regularly. But here we don't have enough water. We are now in danger.
So they fall back on the Banka Dam for all activities. About 5 communities here depend on this water for almost everything. Laundry, cooking, and of course, drinking. Many of the children wade through the water with their dirty feet and fetch the same water for drinking.
If it's home, they boil the water before drinking. If it's not home, they just drink directly from the dam. They've been advised to take in more water, but because there's no fire then pot here for boiling, they just take it directly from the dam.
These children are on a school break because of the coronavirus outbreak, but many of them are here working to support their parents.
Teacher said coronavirus can't this Ghana, so that we will go to school. Come until July.
He's here to make money. He doesn't want to be home.
Back in the town of Koche, the people gathered with little social distancing to discuss how to get authorities to give them water, especially in this time of coronavirus.
They had wanted the water to be enough for all of them because the number of people depending on that water, there are too many. Right now, they all depend on the water, the dam water. People and animals drink at the same dam. So they'll call on government to come to their aid with potable drinking water, so they can also be able to wash their hands and drink safe water to prevent themselves from the disease.
They resolved to engage the media to speak on their behalf. Beyond this pandemic, government should find ways of providing water to vulnerable communities like Koche. Jojo Kobna, Joy News.
The wealthy and middle class may have adequately prepared for the partial lockdown by stocking food and other essentials. But many poor people who do not trade in essential items say this restrictive era will be a real squeeze. Joining us, Henry Kwesibedu visited Nima, one of Ghana's biggest slums, and reports many people are crying for government support.
Nima looks calm as residents observe the president's directive to control the spread of the coronavirus. Food vendors here continue to sell. Those who do not sell essential items sit idle as their shops remain closed. Others have no option but to engage in games in the community. Practicing social distancing here is ignored as many sit in groups for idle conversations. 55-year-old Ajo lives in a compound house of about 40 occupants. She takes care of her mother and auntie, both old and frail. She's unable to make ends meet on her meager laundry profits of averagely 15 cedis a day. The restriction has locked her down as she's unable to move to restricted areas to do the laundry. Ajo laments her family only had provisions for a few days, adding no work would mean hunger.
Me senior me call Abeka, me call La Paz, me call Mambobi, me call Newtown.
My customers have banned me from coming to their houses because of the virus. Yesterday, I went to the market with 100 cedis and bought provisions for a few days. Foodstuff prices have been increased. If government could help, the time is now. How do I take care of my auntie and mother now?
Ajo represents many Ghanaians living in slums who will have a difficulty staying indoors without any saved income. Some residents say they will skip lunch and eat only breakfast and supper to get through the restriction season. Isa, a single father of 4, says he survives by trading in goods from neighboring countries, but for now, the borders are locked.
Me, I'm a trader like this. I'm going far from the country, and then I came back buying charcoal and this thing, onion, salt, and then this thing, bring it for here, from Niger to here. So now I stop. I can't go. And then I block for the house, and then I get children almost getting to 7 with me. I have to feed them. You see, if I get some small liters of money spending, within 2-3 days, you know, it's children, then the money finish. And
we're taking a break to bring you more business. Stay tuned in.
Welcome back to Business. My name is Sandra Esinam Apeno, and as governments grapple with the coronavirus pandemic, a multiplicity of measures are being implemented to contain the virus and limit its spread, as well as improve the economic and financial risk on world economies. Countries across the world have taken several steps to mitigate the impact of the virus on their economic systems. The finance minister was in Parliament today to give an update on the economic and financial measures government is taking to reduce fallout of this pandemic on Ghana. We want to make a sense of these measures and find out what we can learn. Most importantly, can we tell if these measures will have the desired impact? Joining me via Skype is Philip Namfuri, an economic and financial contributor to Joy Business. Philip Namfuri, thanks so much for joining me. And before I come to you for the additional measures that were announced today, I want us to take a look at what we already know, and then I come back to you for that discussion shortly, right? Philip Namfuri is here. Great to see you, Philip.
Yeah, hi, Sandra.
Can you hear me? From home?
I'm good. Just enjoying myself.
Let's get straight to action. Philip, give us a snapshot of some of the broad measures that government is actually taking to lessen the burden of the virus on our economy.
Okay, thank you very much. So the measures, I'll divide them into fiscal measures and monetary measures to make things easier.
Right.
So fiscal will be coming from the Ministry of Finance, and then monetary will be coming from the Bank of Ghana / the financial institutions. Now, we know the other measures, such as the health measures coming from the Ghana Health Service, but our focus should be on the for a business desk should be on the monetary and then the fiscal measures.
All right.
Now, on the fiscal part, I'll start with what the finance minister presented today in Parliament. This Corona Alleviation Program, the Coronavirus Alleviation Program, talking about how much we are going to get from the Ghana Stabilization Fund, looking at 1 billion going to households and SMEs or businesses, particularly SMEs. However, the finance minister was quick to add that the details on this CAP or CAP will be coming in the next few days. So we should expect something. So for now, we can't really tell how exactly they are going to push these funds and which industries are going to take these funds, how much each industry is going to get. But we know, broadly speaking, that the industries which are hard hit, hospitality, airline or aviation industry, pharmaceutical industry, may be the ones that these funds will be targeted at.
So
we also know that.
Okay,
yeah.
Go ahead, Philip.
No, go ahead, sure. Okay,
I wanted
we also know that. Okay, you go.
No,
go.
Philip, just go ahead. Make your points, please.
Okay, so I was saying that apart from what our ministry is doing, the Ministry of Finance, in terms of releasing money for this coronavirus fight, we are also going to our international partners. Specifically, we'll be going to the IMF for a rapid credit facility, which I discussed last week with Darrell Kwao and explained it at length. We'll also be going to the World Bank Group for some funds. Both of these institutions have released funds that's supposed to help countries like ours battle the impacts of the coronavirus.
So basically, if you look at all the measures that have been put in place, will you want to say or agree that, yes, we've done enough to be able to lessen the impact or the outcome of the coronavirus on our economy totally?
Okay, so far, what we've done, both on the fiscal side and the monetary side, it's a good step. However, how the virus is moving in terms of, I'll call it its mutation, we really don't know a lot yet. We are still learning. So would this be enough to ameliorate the burdens on our economy? It's too early to say. But it's a good step our authorities have taken. Bank of Ghana started with this rate cut. Then the Ministry of Finance also came in with other things and stuff like that. But it's too early to tell. There will be more that needs to come. Even the developed economies, they pumped in money initially, and they still have to pump in money. Look at the US, for example. The Federal Reserve came out with its fund. Then we had Congress also coming out with the $2 trillion fiscal stimulus package. So there's nothing like enough right now. How the virus is moving, how it's affecting us, we will need more in the subsequent days.
All right. Well, Sir Philip Namfuri, we'll leave it here for today. Thanks so much for joining me, and do stay safe. Philip Namfuri has been speaking to us on the measures that have been announced by the Finance Ministry and the BOG at large. And coming up tonight is a compilation of some business headline stories locally, and top on the list tonight, economist Professor Peter Quartey is happy with the $1 billion stimulus package for SMEs. But there is a but. Details in a business news summaries.
The Economics Department at the University of Ghana, Professor Peter Quartey, has lauded government for announcing a 1 billion cedi stimulus package for small and medium-scale enterprises aimed at mitigating the impact of the coronavirus pandemic. Professor Peter Quartey, who was speaking on Joy FM's Super Morning Show, however, believes the lack of information on how the funds can be assessed and who is entitled to benefit should be addressed. The National Petroleum Authority, NPA, has moved to quell public fears about a possible shortage of petroleum products following restrictions placed on movement of persons in parts of the Greater Accra and Ashanti regions. According to the NPA, the country has adequate stocks of petroleum products and all retail outlets will be fully operational during the lockdown period. The call comes following queues at some retail outlets in the capital on Saturday. Meanwhile, the LPG Association is cautioning citizens against panic buying.
Thought you've seen the worst yet from crude oil? Wait until you see today's figures. The commodity sold today at $22.27 a barrel, the worst in 18 years. More details in Commodity News. And that will be all for business tonight with me, Sandra Esinam App. And do log on to our website, myjoyonline.com/business. Thanks for watching, and stay safe and stay beautiful.
Thank you for staying with us here on Joy News Prime. Time now for the sport. And quickly, as part of efforts to help the country deal with the COVID-19 pandemic, Black Stars winger Samuel Owusu has donated hand sanitizers to the Ghana Football Association.
We are in a very critical moment of our lives. The global pandemic has sparked a high level of fear. Of course, if you do recall, only yesterday the president has called for a partial country lockdown in this country. So, as part of our widow's mite from the Black Stars winger, Samuel Owusu, we call it the Owusu Project, it is important that we contribute our widow's mite to help our people. We have contributed about 2,000 sanitizers. This is our way of contributing, ensuring that we continue to observe the basic precautionary measures that have been touted by the experts.
So that's about it for the sport. But did you catch the Ayew brothers killing the stay-at-home challenge this weekend? If you ever did need motivation to probably stay at home, yeah, this is probably it. Captain of the Black Stars in his Jakoto. And there we go. That's about it for the sport. I'm Gary Alsmith. Tomorrow we have more here.
And that's how we wrap up Joy News Prime tonight. Many thanks for watching. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. I've been doing this with
Israel Aye from home. Have a good night.
Stay with us on Joy News.